Hello, everybody, and welcome to My EdTech Live. I am your host, Alfonso Mendoza, and you can find me on Twitter at TechTeacher1381. Thank you so much for joining us today and allowing us to be part of your morning. And today we have a great show. We have an amazing guest that I've had the privilege to meet during this time of, pandemic, quarantine, remote learning, whatever it is that you'd like to call it. So I'm very thrilled to have our guest here, Mr. Toby Doncaster, who's joining us from the UK. So Toby, thank you for joining us here today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon over there in the UK to meet
That's
with
right.
us and just participate here in our show, and then just bring some great stuff to our audience and just some great conversations and great chats. So Toby, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, everybody. My name's Toby Doncaster. Long story short, I've been an English teacher for 30 years. I work with predominantly what they call ESL learners, I suppose, English as a second language learners. But I also teach English to our 16 to 19-year-old cohort. These are learners who have been through the English education system, haven't done too well, and they're now in a vocational college. So our vocational college serves 16 to 19s from school, 16 to 19s from abroad who are here to study English as a second language, and adults up to any age you choose. I've taught 75-year-olds how to speak their first words of English, and it's lovely to be here. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome, Toby. Wow, that is really interesting. Just the type of students that you've worked with. I mean, 16 to 19s and even adult learners. So you definitely, have to hone in your skills to be able to teach and reach out to all of our learners or all the learners that you have there. So that's really interesting. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that as we go along. But like I said, Toby's joining us here today. And today our topic is, mental health. During this time of quarantine, it has been very difficult for many of us just not being able to go out or live our daily routines, go through our day to day, just because of so much uncertainty, so many things that are going on, a lot of difficulties with that. So Toby's just going to share something like from his lens, and the part of the show here is just to connect other educators from around the world. And here I know we're based in the US, but the ability that we have to meet with Toby here in the UK and just to see things through a different lens, different perspectives, and just to let our educators know also that, they're not the only ones that may be going through these tough times, as far as, because of being locked in and in quarantine, and, mental health is definitely something that is very important to all of us. So Toby, what are some of the things that you have seen, maybe, there in the UK, or maybe you have experienced yourself during this time?
Well, first of all, we had a lot of cutback on the number of engaged learners. So I think learners weren't too sure whether they were supposed to be engaged, whether they were supposed to be doing any work, in spite of us, being in touch with them via Google Classroom. And that was probably the first sort of learning lesson, is that, this is something that we should hone and sort of repeatedly do every step of the way, beginning from the beginning of the school year, which is to implement digital literacy into our classes, so the students are used to, engaging with Google Classroom. They're used to creating documents, doing surveys, doing forms, and so on. They need to be used to working with digital tools, such as laptops or their own phones, and sort of, looking to see, what are the possibilities of what they're working with. And they need to, in a way, the engagement that I had, what I started doing is every so often on a daily basis, I would send out a video in the morning, a good morning video to my learners, and explaining what was happening with the lockdown, what I thought, how I felt, what was the day like, what I would be doing with my day. So, for example, I'd go out for a walk because this was allowed for us. I'd go out for some exercise. I'd be doing some work, and I'd explain what my daily routine was like so that they had some sort of motivation of their own. And out of a class, I've got 200 learners, and out of those 200 learners, I was getting between 40 to 60 views on a daily basis of the videos that I was creating. So I knew that this was actually working, personalizing my approach rather than making it a sort of general, this is a lesson plan for all my classes. But trying to make it personal from myself was actually connecting with my learners and bringing them from the classroom into my living room, if you like.
No, but that's just a great way to engage learners. And I mean, imagine the learners too as well, being able to at least have that contact with you either through that message or seeing your face and hearing your voice through that video. I'm pretty sure that for a lot of them that were used to just the daily routine also of seeing you on a daily basis and
Yeah.
working with you in a brick and mortar school, and now that they don't have that, I mean, it could have been very difficult for them. But I think that personal touch, like you said, just creating that short video just to engage them. And then as a learner, I know I would probably say like, oh wow, look at this, it's like my professor, my teacher, sent me a message, seeing how I'm doing, look at what's going on this today, or these are the activities for this week. And like you said, you feel you really do feel engaged. And like you said, it's like now you're welcoming them to your living room, and now
Yes.
you're a big family now.
The other thing was to continually innovate. As a teacher, this is my advice. What I found myself doing. So this is a great one. My first synchronous lesson, and why I don't teach synchronously anymore. I started teaching on Google Meet, and I did a presentation, and I'm explaining all the different little bits and pieces. And one of my learners piped up and said, "Sir, I can't see anything." I said, "Well, what are you telling me, that the presentation's not working? Has technology failed me yet again?" And he said, "No, the presentation's too small on my phone." So I thought, hold on, this is a wake-up call for me. So I'm trying to present something and explain it, but because the actual space it's taking up, the real estate it's taking up on his phone is so small, he can't see anything. And I was like, guys, is this affecting everybody? And they're like, yes, we can't see what's going on. So what I had to do is start thinking about real estate on the phone and say, right, well, this is how much they can see. So rather than me trying to talk over what they can see, I'm going to try to explain it, whether it's through video, and they can watch the video and then watch, and then engage with the material themselves, or try to find other material that works, try to find other platforms that can help them, and it might work that way. So this is what I did with Wakelet. I just wanted to show you something. Would that be possible?
Yes.
What do I do?
Oh, just there at the bottom where it says share screen.
Okay.
There you go. And then you'll be able to select your screen.
Okay. Right. Oh, yeah. So, and then share. And then what I'm going to do. So this is what I did for my learners' well-being. I created 2 magazines, one for June, one for July. This is when I finally realized the issue with real estate on their phones and what they can and can't see. So these were created using Book Creator. And what I did is that as I was creating the book, I would be opening it up on my phone to check what the font sizes were like and everything else. So the key points was that were the images showing up all right on my phone? Were the fonts turning up all right on my phone? And because these are for my learners, the language was actually quite simple as well, because I was restricted according to the amount of space that I could show my learners.
That is
So
amazing,
yeah,
Toby.
pardon?
I said that's amazing, Toby. I think, for a lot of us, and even here, like Bruce is commenting, Bruce is joining us from New Jersey, saying, that's a great point that a lot of students are going to be doing a lot of their learning on tablets or cell phones. And maybe for us as teachers, we never really realize, and educators, the real estate and what it is that they're going to be able to see. So for you to be able to have received that feedback and be proactive and creating something that they're going to be able to view. I think that that's something that is wonderful. That's
Well,
awesome,
thank you.
Toby.
Thank you. Now, book creator goes a step beyond that, because what I could do, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this for every book that I start to create. You can actually put audio into the book, yes? So for
Mhm.
each page, I have a little button. I don't know if that's visible,
Yes,
but
it
if they
is.
press the button, it reads the book out to them in my voice. And that was the game changer for me. So my students could read and listen at the same time.
Wow.
And that worked really, really well. So yeah, this was my first book on mental health, trying to explain to my learners what mental health was.
Wow. And that is awesome. So you took Book Creator, created something for your students, and then you added that to your Wakelet collection. That is what I call an awesome app smash right there. That is something
There
that
you
is
go.
great, Toby. That's wonderful. And then the fact that you added your voice, and because you said that they are ESL learners, so then they can read while they're listening to you, which engages them. And then there's still learning taking place, all while they're learning this topic of mental health and mental well-being. So, Toby, that is really awesome, Toby. That is wonderful. I really like that project.
So that's but this is what I think this is what I wanted to say to everybody. It's to listen carefully to what your learners are saying or are not saying. If I was to say to them, why aren't you engaging with me? I don't think I would. I don't think, personally, I think that if I'd said that, learners are going to say to me, oh, I don't know what to say. I feel guilty for not doing what you expect from me. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas if a student makes a chance comment like they did, they say, I can't see. I'm sorry, I can't see. I'm like, oh, this is something for me to be proactive about. This is for something for me to change. This is for something for me to adapt to. This is the reality of their situation.
Yeah.
Um,
And one thing that I wanted to add is also just that being very proactive. Oftentimes it's things go by and we don't ask students like, hey, is everything okay? Can you view things? And, because we have to go through our lessons, things of that sort. But the fact that the student was able to speak up and that you took those steps and you realize like, hey, this is going to be affecting a lot of my learners. I think being very good advice, like you said too, would be very proactive in
yeah,
some of these things and adapt and overcome. In the end we want to make sure that our students get the information that they need for them to be successful as well. So thank you, Toby, for sharing that.
no problem. Now, another piece of advice, if you like, it's if especially if learners have more than one teacher, say. So there was myself and a couple of other colleagues teaching the same group. It's important that we all try to be sort of cohesive, at
Mhm.
least in saying to the learner, look, I'm saying to you, do join us. Another person has to say, do join Toby and myself. you know um, Try to get the learner to understand that there's a supportive network around them. It's not just one teacher who's saying, look, you've got to come and join us, you've got to come and join us. Make sure that your colleagues are joining in as well. Now, to that end, we sent out emails, we sent out texts asking how learners were feeling, and we sent out messages via Google Classroom. But it was always in a and we never said to them that what they were doing was wrong. So we never said, we're not hearing from you. we would say things like, a lot of you have been in touch with us, and we're really happy that you're in touch with us and that you're talking to us. You know, what other materials do you think you'd be interested in learning? You know, because we're actually we're getting good feedback from you. So this is the main thing: a consistency between teachers saying, do stay in touch with us, okay, and saying that, you know, I hope you're getting on well with, you know, Mrs. Smith's classes as well as
Mhm.
mine. You know, do her work as well. You know, do make sure that you turn up for her lessons if she's going online, and also using a variety of did I say messaging? Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
text, it was emails, and classroom to see, you know, to get the learner engaged and involved in what was happening, rather than just saying, well, everything's on the Google Classroom and you should be using Google Classroom and that's it. You know, we don't know how what happened to us, what happened to me
Mhm.
personally, was that initially it was all Google Classroom, and I was really focused on trying to make my Google Classroom the best there was, if you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, of
trying to
course.
put materials on there, trying to promote it, trying to sell it basically to my learners. And you know, it was like 4 weeks later, I had a learner contact a colleague via WhatsApp
Mhm.
to say, I'm not getting any classwork. What's going on? And we found out she'd never enrolled onto the Google Classroom in the first place. So
Ah.
she'd lost 4 weeks of learning because, you know, I didn't know she wasn't on the list. You know, there's 200 learners, and I'm not here to check that everybody's there. What had happened? She'd enrolled, deleted the app,
Oh,
and
okay.
you know, so she wasn't getting the notifications. She wasn't getting anything, and she just thought, "Oh, we're in lockdown. The college has shut. No communication." This is when we started sending out texts to everybody to say, please make sure that you're logged on to the Google Classroom. If you don't know how to get onto Google Classroom, please get in touch with Toby. Toby will send out, you know, a tutorial, a video tutorial link, so you can see how to do this on YouTube, you know, and so on and so forth. So, like I said, you know, one mode of communication isn't going to work. You've got to go through multiple channels to be able to get in touch with your learners.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's great that you said, because it's very important that all our students are engaged. And here, I mean, look at this student, 4 weeks without any communication or not receiving any messages because just an error that happened, you know, deleting an app, things of that sort. And like you said, you know, we need to make sure that we account for everybody, but you build that sense of community too as well. I think one of the things that you mentioned is, I just like the way you say, you know, it's just not me, you know, it's all of us. How are you doing? You know,
Mm,
we're here for
mm,
you. We're at, you know, how are you doing? I think that's something that's very important too, as well. And especially during this time, Toby, that a lot of students, you know, they miss school. Maybe for a lot of students, that is
yeah,
their safe space, you know, for
that's
at
right.
least 8 hours, 6 hours a day. And, you know, it's very difficult to not be able to see those familiar faces or the teacher's face and or have somebody make their day. So I think when you include them that way, or you phrase the email, the phrasing goes a long way. That little touch can definitely play a big role in the way the student engages in your classes.
Yeah. You know, I was just thinking about, you know, you were talking about being under lockdown and how it's changed the scenario for a lot of people, not being in a safe space anymore. Um, you know, I don't know what to say about that. I've not really considered my classroom as a safe space as much as it should be. I used to call it a social area. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I never thought of it as safe so much as social. People came because they got to see each other, they got to make friends with each other, they got to
Mhm.
speak to each other. And it could be quite difficult at times, quite challenging because of their English ability for them to communicate with each other. Now, what I've noticed, and I haven't promoted it yet, but I will be in the future, is the use of emojis and emoticons to get learners to communicate in a different way. And I also think, there's a lot available. There's a lot available now that learners can use to, try to communicate in a different way. So, for example, I use Flipgrid. I'm not going to screen share again. That was
No,
such
no,
a
no.
lag. But on my Wakelet, when I was talking to my learners, I used Flipgrid videos on my Wakelet so that the learner can press the the Flipgrid video,
Mhm.
listen to what the instructions are and what they had to do, and they could repeat it over and over again. And they can see the facial expressions, they can see me trying to explain it,
Yeah.
and they can pick up on that it's a positive thing. I'm still trying to get my learners to use Flipgrid themselves. I think this would be a positive thing. They're still a bit hesitant to communicate using videos, and I find it quite interesting that at the beginning of the year in September, when I asked them to make their first Flipgrid video, I said, just tell me about yourself, tell me about what you want in the future, tell me what you want to do. Over half my classes were saying, I'd like to be TikTok famous, and I was like, well, you want to engage with that TikTok community is huge. A, it's huge. B, you don't know anybody on it, and but C, you'll get to know us. Why aren't you doing it with us? We're here to support you. We're here to look out for you. We're here to keep you safe. And my Flipgrid my Flipgrid usage dropped dramatically, down from about when they realized that people could see, their videos,
Mhm.
it dropped dramatically. So I don't know. Face to face, it works. Videos doesn't quite work, but yet if we could record on video, and learners would get the opportunity to learn to listen to other people's accents, they'd get the opportunity to understand each other a lot better.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, video to for I mean, for the littles, I mean, they love it, but like you said, maybe just because they are older and adults, I think it's just mainly like you said, just feeling self-conscious of somebody here in the
Mm,
same room is going to be watching, and it kind of goes back to in the classroom when I would have the students present, they would just kind of be very shy because everybody else in the classroom is watching them. But I think it's something that's very important that we see that at least if we can harness that in the communication, like you said, a lot of it could be that the students can see the facial gestures, some
mm.
of the hand motions, so they can also pick up on the language. And like you said, I think very important picking up on accents and so on, something that could be very useful. So hopefully, they'll start taking to that and being able to share some of their learning there as well through Flipgrid. But like you mentioned, Wakelet has just so many tools there when you're creating your collection. I mean, everything from Flipgrid, and then you've got PDFs you can upload, YouTube videos,
Yeah.
things of that sort. So I think that's something that's wonderful there too that we can leverage, and maybe even like you said, they can just create their videos and maybe just put them. Well, it would still be the same. I mean, there'd be a collaborative Wakelet. They would still put up their
Yeah.
their video there, but so it kind of goes back to that.
Well, I think we're going to go back to the beginning. So basically, they'll have to produce their individual Wakelet, which they will only share with me.
There you go.
So they can. That's the thing that I want to see happening in my classroom, and I'm going to be setting that up in September, which is for them to produce their own individual Wakelets based on a topic of choice of their own. So as I said, we're in a vocational college. So we've got learners interested in motorcycles, cars, carpentry, building, plumbing, hairdressing, you name it. We've got
Nice.
learners from all sorts of streams. What I would like to see is for them to start building up their portfolios using Wakelet so that they can, take videos. Why not make videos of their own? Take photos, do write-ups. And the nice thing about the write-ups on Wakelet is that when I don't know if you've tried it, it's got the immersive reading. So
Yes.
yes, you can change
Yes.
the background to help those who need who have sight issues. It can read out to you, and my joke has always been it reads out with an English accent, which is quite nice. Um, but also it can translate into other languages to an extent.
Toby, I think we froze, but yeah, I think you're correct. Yeah, sorry, I think we just froze a bit there. But yeah, like you said, it's something that is very amazing that it can change to different languages, and I
Yes,
think that that's something that's very useful. And so one of the things that I like that you said, Toby, is having them create their portfolio for depending on what it is that they're interested in. But not only that, but that serves you as a learning artifact of what has taken place. But later on, should they be interviewing, they have a portfolio, a digital portfolio.
that's
If they're
it.
interviewing
Yeah,
for a job, they can share their Wakelet with their employer and say, "Hey, look at the videos that I've created. Look at the pictures that I've created." And I think that that's something that is great rather than just a simple application form that you can fill out a piece of
mm.
paper, but say, "Hey, check out this link and let me show you my digital portfolio." I think that's some added value there. And because they're using the tech, yeah, the technology, that definitely, gives them a thumbs up on some of those
Exactly.
things. So that's wonderful, Toby. I like that idea a lot.
But also, when you're thinking about, okay, so you've managed to produce a portfolio of your own. This is a step into learning to produce websites,
Hmm.
and the ability to produce a website and to, um, you know, to sell your product, to sell who you are, to sell your imagination. It's not far-fetched anymore. It used to be that you had to know HTML, didn't you? You had to know a specific language to be able to produce something. Whereas now it's drag and drop technology. But what needs to be taught to our learners at the moment is, what makes a good portfolio, if you like, what makes a good production, and then how does that transfer into a website so that you can now have an employability skill that you can use later on.
There you go, employability skills. And maybe like the progression there would be also, like you said, like something like a Google site that they can do as
Yeah,
well from there. And of course you can embed, your Wakelet into your Google site and things of
there
that
you
sort,
go.
or like Blogger, things of that sort. So I mean, this is great. Like I think this is a great kind of entry level, and I think a lot of people, like you yourself, I'm learning a lot from you too as well, just being that I work at, K through 12, and I really don't work with too many adult learners. But for this, I think that this is so wonderful what you're doing, Toby, with the
Oh, mate.
digital portfolios, mate. This is something
Yeah.
that I'm really excited about just hearing you talking about, because like you said, one of the main things too is, well, number one, the tools that are available within Wakelet, such as Flipgrid. You've got Immersive Reader. You can upload your PDFs, YouTube videos, anything pretty much that has a link, they can go ahead and put up there. So as they are
Yes,
creating, they're putting up their own creations up there, their own voice, their own persona, like personality. They're
that's right.
and
Yeah.
and it's unique to them, and they get to share that with whomever it is that they share it. In this case, they're sharing it with you as their instructor. But then, like you said, the employability skill of being able to show how you created some videos, you've
Mm,
created write-ups. Now you're good with some technology here. And so that right there, I think Wakelet is just become just this really full package, suite that can really help a lot of our adult learners now these days. And imagine how much more so also for our young learners, K through
mm.
12, and what it can do for them as they start building up their portfolios at such an early age. So by the time they graduate, they have this portfolio with all these amazing skills that they can pop in on their university application.
There you
And
go.
There you go. I mean, it's something that is amazing. So thanks for those great tips, Toby. Those are
No
awesome things that
problem.
you're doing. Wonderful
You
work,
brought them
mate.
out of me, sir.
Wonderful work, mate. Like this is really exciting, and we've got our audience members here also that are pretty much excited. I know we've got Bruce is also agreeing with
Hi,
Wakelet
Bruce.
Portfolios, and Bruce is joining us from New Jersey. We've got Ben. Ben's joining us also from the
Yeah.
UK. So hello, Ben. Thank you for joining us, and everybody else that's joining us. We're here with Toby Doncaster from the UK, and we're talking about mental health and Wakelet. And man, Toby has just been sharing with us a wealth of information regarding Wakelet and the way he uses it with adult learners. So audience
Mm.
members, many of you that are out there that are looking for some innovative ideas on how to engage your adult learners, whether it be at the university level, vocational level, any sort of level. Maybe Toby's definitely sharing some goods here today, so I'm really excited about that. So Toby, like what other things do you have working on, or are your students working on within your classroom itself? I mean, we've gone over the Wakelet, creating videos, things of that sort. Are there any other projects maybe you're working with them on?
Um, well, actually, at the moment, what I wanted to do is talking about the mental health aspect.
Mhm.
When it came to making the videos, what I was doing, this was a project of my own, is I created a Zen garden at the back of our house. Very small, very, easy to make. And that was the whole idea. Creating something myself, showing them the process by video, how easy it was to create, and then inviting them to send photos. So with my adults, this is the big thing for them, because for them to interact with each other and to interact within the college right from the beginning of the lockdown. I produced the garden, took a photo of it, and I said, I want you to arrange something beautiful and take a photo of it yourself. They all got into that, and this was part of their mental well-being. So they went outside, they were appreciating their surroundings, they were practicing mindfulness. And then I took it the next step. I said, okay, I want you to go out and I want you to take a photo of something, a place that you like. Go to somewhere and take a photo of nature. Go somewhere, take a photo of a pet. It could be your own pet, it could be someone else's pet.
Mhm.
Go out somewhere, take a photo of a shop that you want to visit. I'm not asking you to go in and visit it because we were in lockdown. We weren't allowed into shops. Shops were closed. Why do you want to visit that shop? What was so good about that shop? How often did you visit that shop? You remember, my English level is very low, very limited. So all we could do is get them to talk about, how often they went somewhere, what did they buy there, what
Mhm.
did they do with it. Take a photo of your lunch, your dinner. Who are you serving this to? How is it made? Write a simple recipe. Take a photo of the recipe and share it with us. So there was a lot of this. Now, the one thing I did not do is get them to create their blessed wakelets.
Oh.
Taking all these photos of things that they were doing and like getting involved by sending it. They were submitting them to Google Classroom,
Uh-huh.
and I was the only viewer. So all I could do was give my feedback. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that meal looks
Uh-huh.
really delicious. Oh, you've got to send me the recipe for that. But I never thought, we can combine this with Wakelet. We can do a little bit more. So I think, in terms of mental well-being, sometimes I can start with a simple idea and develop it just a little bit further, just a step
Mhm.
further, just a step further. And I don't seem to be able to get it to the fruition stage. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
I go so far and I'm like, it's the end of the year. I could have done this. This could have been the project. I didn't think that far ahead. Never mind. Next time.
Well, that's the way it goes. But Toby, I think that that's such a great idea, like you said. And one thing that struck me was when you said, "Oh, they turned it into Google Classroom," but you were the only viewer, and you were the only one that can give feedback. And so I think one of the things is that when you get to do this project again, and having them build up their Wakelet, I think it's great that they would be able to share it with one another and get
Yeah,
authentic feedback, genuine
yeah.
feedback from their other classmates. And I think that's something that's very important for students at any level. And sometimes we would assign things as teachers and say, hey, here's your composition notebook, submit it to me with the summary of that story. But then, we're the only ones reading it. So how are the students working on their reading skills, literacy skills, feedback or peer review skills if we don't put it in their hands? So then, something like Wakelet or something, even just a Google Doc and sharing Google Docs with one another. But there's so many tools there. But this project that you said you're just taking it one day at a time, it just becomes really like also a daily journal. It really helps them
It
too,
could
as
have been a
well as,
daily journal. You know
yeah,
what?
and then they
We're
can
talking
reflect.
about, yeah.
Yeah, they can reflect back later on and say, hey, this was that time in 2020 when this happened, but look at all these things that I was able to do or see and things of that sort. And I think that that's such a wonderful project, Toby, and I hope you get the
Well,
opportunity to do it again.
what I'm hoping for my students' sake, if you like,
Mhm.
I don't know, for those of you with Google Photos on your phone, this is the blessing, isn't it? Is that you take a photo today, and then this time next year it comes back again and leaps at you. You say, "Oh, yes, I remember. We did this. And, oh, I remember we went out there, and oh yes, I wrote about this." As I said, I've asked them to write about, where did they go,
Mhm.
what did they see, what did they do, why did they do it, and so on and so forth. So hopefully it will come back at them, through the use of photos. But really, that was the aspect of well-being that I was trying to foster at the time, because I appreciated, when at the beginning of lockdown, my learners felt hemmed in, felt closed in. You could only stay at home. I don't know what it was like for anyone else in other countries, but we were locked in, and we were allowed out to exercise for 1 hour. And this was me trying to think, right, how do I encourage my learners to go out, to find something, and not to interact with it, but to use your phones to take a picture of it and interact with it, photographically, and bring it back home, send it to me, talk to me about it. But yeah, I didn't have the brain space to sort of take it a step further. I think that will be my regret until, as you said, until September, and we can start doing that.
Yeah. But again, like you said, at least, all ideas start from somewhere. And so the fact that you had this idea now, you get to build up upon it. And like Bruce made a comment here, even though to some people it may seem like something so simple, but it's something so powerful, like you said,
Mm,
like Bruce mentions, this idea of being able to just track things, and with the use of these activities, you're helping your learners, you're helping their mental health as well as they're getting out, they're seeing some things, they're appreciating things that maybe sometimes we often take for granted, as something like going to a store. Now that you can't go to that store anymore, it's like, okay, I'm taking a picture of this store, and then you're asking them and engaging them, what would you buy there? Or the dinner that they're having, maybe it's their
yeah,
favorite dinner, who they're serving it, and they get to reflect on those things. And I think one of my favorite ones though was that Zen garden. I actually got to see a picture that you shared of your Zen garden in your backyard. And I think that was something great, like, engaging them and say, hey, how about you create something beautiful, or what do you see as beautiful, and take a picture of that, because then as an educator, that allows you to see things through their lens also,
yes.
as well as what they perceive as beautiful. And it's something that is amazing and can be eye-opening for a lot of us to just see things from a different perspective. And I think that that's such a wonderful idea. And I think this coming September, I definitely want to see what you do, and maybe get a glimpse of those Wakelet collections, because I think that that's just something inspiring for myself as
Well,
well
I
in my
I
practice.
want to put it the other way around, because all right, we were chatting before the show, but I've always thought that you know America has got such a different perspective on things, and I would love to see American wakelets of, things that matter to you and what's beautiful to you, shared across the Twitter sphere, or shared just personally with me, just for me to look and see, Alfonso, what is good for you? What do you love?
Oh, that is awesome. Hey, so there you go. Hey guys, audience members, we'll call that hashtag the Toby Challenge, the Toby Wakelet Challenge. So guys, we can take those things, beautiful things that we love and so on. And again, it's something that's good for us personally that we can hold on to, that we can share, those things and open ourselves up to share with others. And like you said, you can even share with Toby. And just to get that perspective, him being in the UK, us being here in the United States, just to get to see things and know people, see different perspectives through a different lens and a different light. I think
Yeah,
that
definitely.
Wakelet definitely lends itself to that. And now that I've been inspired, and honestly, Toby, like this morning, I'm so thankful that you are here with us today, because just with the what you have shared, like right now I've got ideas going on in my head and I just feel very inspired. And I think that something like this, you'll probably be getting a wakelet from me pretty soon with some of the things that I love and that I'm most passionate about and that I see as beautiful to share with you and with anybody out there in the Twitter sphere and the Twitterverse, because I think that would be something that is amazing. So we've got Linda here who's joining us from Canada. It says, Toby, you should connect with
another classroom on favorite things.
That's a great way to see things. Maybe there's another. There we go. Sorry, you had a little hiccup there. So
No
Linda's
problem.
saying here, Toby, you should connect with another classroom on favorite things. So maybe, Toby, that might be something, maybe an activity, maybe if there's a different school close by, or maybe a school in a different country that you do, maybe that might be something where they can interact and not sure what's going on. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so Toby, I don't know if you caught that last thing that I said. Sharing ideas.
Sharing ideas. I think we need to. Well, this is my turn now, America.
Something up here.
Hand this to me. We'll hold on to your thought, and I'm going to grab another thought and put it together. Yeah, we'll do a thought smash.
There you go. I like that.
Smash. I've always believed that Americans think big, and I've always admired you for that. You've always seen the big perspective, and you've always said, "Oh yes, that's great," and then we could do this. And I think what we need is a global beauty sort of Toby's challenge. So, how far can we take this? How far can we connect with other countries? Yes, we'll show students how many things they have in common, but also things that are different. So I'm sure, like for example, in America, I'm sure there's a lot of sports memorabilia which we have, which is different. Ours is obviously soccer or football, and yours would be American football or baseball, and so on and so forth. I'm sure there are countries where there's things like musical instruments, flower arranging. The possibilities are endless. But to be able to share, this is almost like a pen pal, but instead of writing something, you're using imagery to communicate with each other.
Yeah, so just a great way to communicate with each other. I completely agree with you, Toby. Sorry, we had a little lag there. So I really like that. Like you say, you're really thinking big and outside the box, like global challenge, and see how far we can take this. That is something that is definitely amazing, Toby. So I love that idea. Look at you, like thinking big. That's awesome. That's great, Toby.
But I take it after you guys. I'm learning from the best. I'm learning from the best in the business.
Awesome, Toby. Well, Toby, listen, it has been a pleasure to have you here, mate. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
I am privileged to have you here on the show because I want to thank also Global GEG. I got to give them a shout out. and their staff room,
Definitely.
meetings. And that's the way that I got to meet Toby, through Kat, Abbott, Leslie, all of that group of wonderful global GEG educators and innovators that are out there, that we've been able to make this connection. And again, like I mentioned, the purpose of the show is to always connect educators, no matter from where they may be, across the, like they say, across the pond. Here in the
Across the
United
board.
States, the goal is to connect educators that are like-minded or have some innovative ideas, like we just learned today through Wakelet. So you can learn from, our audience members can learn from, but that they can also connect directly with you, and
Yeah.
maybe share some ideas. And it's all about being a connected PLN, and that's what the show is about. So guys, thank you for joining us. And if you noticed here today, we are also now live on Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and we are working on a couple of other places to go live on. So thank you so much, Toby. Thank you again.
Thank
Any
you.
last words, anything that you'd like to share with our audience? Go ahead, give them a
Okay.
nice, yeah.
Actually, I did want to share a very short story. I'll try to keep it short.
Oh, it's okay. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. So let me think now. 10 years ago, I'm actually celebrating a decade. 10 years ago, I was introduced to my first sort of 16-year-old class of British English students. And I'd never seen the behavior management issues. I'd never experienced behavior management like that before. I walked into this class and a student would be on their phone. And I'd say, could you just put that away for me? And I'd turn around to discuss something with another student, turn again, and he's got his phone back out again. So I wrote an email to the head of IT in my college, and I said, could you please block YouTube? Is there any way we can, I don't know. This is how much experience I had with IT. I said, is there any way you can block YouTube? Because that's all that my learners want to be on. And he said to me, why aren't you using YouTube in the classroom? And that opened my eyes to, the EdTech future that I had, which was, why am I not bringing in videos of content that is interesting into the classroom? So I tried a couple of things, and met with some success, met with some failure. And then I walked out of the class during a break, and the learners were in an IT suite. And I came back in, and this learner was watching a video about children soldiers in Congo. And I said, what's all this about? What's this video? And he explained it to me. And I said, oh, can we put it on the data projector? So I put it on the data projector, and it was half an hour of my learners being totally engaged with what they were watching. And then I said, I can't believe this. Is this real? And one student piped up and said, yes, it is. And I said, well, how do you know? He said, I'm from the Congo.
Wow.
So the class just erupted. We had students saying, right, I want to find out more about this. So I said, right, write out some questions we can ask him, and we can video him. We can do a video thing. And there was some music, there was a soundtrack in the video. I said, why don't you find out about the soundtrack? Where did that come from? And I said, well, let's see if there's anything on the internet about these children soldiers. This is amazing. I've never heard of this. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And just as we were about to start, the head of IT happened to walk into my classroom and watch what was going on. And he was amazed. This was the first time in our college, 10 years ago, that we, instead of blocking things, brought it into the classroom and used it, to the detriment of my learners, so to speak. We used it against them. We used their tools against them. And I've been on this journey ever since of trying to find, what are my learners interested in, and how can I use it to their benefit?
Oh, that's awesome, Toby. That is a wonderful story. And you said it's like we can no longer teach like Google doesn't exist. We can't teach like YouTube doesn't exist. We got to leverage those tools, and like you said, use them to our favor to engage our learners, and bring them those experiences. I mean, I think even something like YouTube or with Wakelets and the ideas that you brought in today with sharing Wakelets also, globally. A lot of I know that for a lot of us students here, at least in our area, they may never have the I may never have the opportunity, let's say, to go visit the UK. Some of my
Mm,
students may never
sure.
have the ability to visit a different country, but they can get a touch, a glimpse through that lens of what that country is, the beauty that is there, and maybe even make contact, with some of those classrooms like Linda, who's here joining us, was saying, being able to connect to those classrooms and give them authentic, genuine experiences. And now that maybe school will be redesigned in that it's not going to be, for a while, at least confined to the four walls of
Mm,
a building,
definitely.
but we're digital learners now in a digital classroom. This could be a way that we can connect with other classrooms there as well and get different perspectives. But Toby, that was a wonderful story. And I like also what Dr. Karen Jackson, her comment here, good response to them watching the video, no judgment, just asking questions and seeing where it goes from there. And your students, learners were definitely engaged. And just like Bruce said here, we need to listen more to our students and see how they are learning, and
Definitely.
then so that's something that's great. But Toby, thank you once again, my
No
friend. I
problem.
really appreciate you being here. And
No,
I'm
thank you
thankful
for
that I
having me.
get to call you friend
Thank
because
you.
that's what you are. And at any time that you have some great ideas and things of that sort, you always have an open invitation here to the show. You just send me a message and say, hey, Fonz, I want to share this, or this is what's going on. My friend, you will always have a space available here, a share space at any time. All right.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
And so, everybody, thank you so much for joining us and making us part of this morning. Thank you so much for everybody that's joining us also in the UK for making us part of your afternoon as we got to meet here with the amazing Toby Doncaster. And remember, we've got the Toby Challenge that will be coming up too. So start working on those wakelets and get inspired. And remember that you can catch our shows on our YouTube channel. If those of you that are watching on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to our channel as well. And we are also on all the major podcast streams also. So please join us there. And I'm going to go ahead and pop in that link here so you can go ahead and check us out. This is our Wakelet page. And as soon as I'm done with this show, audio will be put up and you will be able to hear this podcast on through Anchor. And like I said, all the other podcast services that are out there. So thank you so much for being here. Join us this coming Saturday as we return back to our regularly scheduled programming for Saturday mornings. We're going to have some great guests and we look forward to seeing you. So again, this is Alfonso at Tech Teacher 1381 signing off, and stay techie, my friends. Y'all take
Stay safe.
care.
Thank you.